Mohan Bhagwat is not welcome in NYC.
Mohan Bhagwat is not welcome in NYC.
Mohan Bhagwat is not welcome in NYC.
RSS Gandhi killers.
RSS
are
Gandhi
Gandhi
killers.
RSS are Gandhi killers.
RSS are Gandhi killers.
RSS is a terrorist organization.
RSS is a terrorist organization.
RSS has looted India.
RSS has looted India.
RSS has divided India.
RSS has divided India.
Yeah. All right. We'll go ahead and get started now. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Safa Ahmed. I am the MC for today's press conference regarding the upcoming visit to New York City of Mohan Bhagwat, the supreme leader of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, or the RSS. Or the RSS is the world's largest far-right organization and is a Nazi-inspired paramilitary group aimed at turning India from a secular democracy into a Hindu ethno-state, where religious minorities are reduced to second-class citizens and subjected to mass violence. In the 100 years since its founding, the RSS and its vast network of affiliated Hindu supremacist groups have been linked to mob violence, massacres, lynchings, the destruction of mosques and churches, and the normalization of hate speech, including calls for a genocide of Muslim minorities. The RSS's harms, however, are not confined to India. It has over 100 offshoot organizations operating in the United States, working to normalize Hindu supremacy, or Hindutva, calling to ban Muslim immigration, justifying transnational repression against Sikh Americans, raising funds to demolish churches in India, fighting affirmative action and legislation that would ban caste-based discrimination, and allying themselves with the white supremacist Christian nationalist right and the MAGA movement here in the United States. The man at the top of all of this is Mohan Bhagwat, and he will be speaking at an event at Madison Square Garden on August 29th. Today, you will hear from members of the many diverse communities in the Indian diaspora that are impacted by the hate and violence of the RSS, beginning with myself. I am a board member of the Indian American Muslim Council, and I'm a member of the Indian Muslim community, the very community that the RSS openly demands the erasure of. And on behalf of the Muslim men who are filmed as they are lynched to death by RSS-affiliated militants in India, on behalf of the Muslim women who have been gang raped and mutilated by RSS-affiliated extremists, on behalf of the Muslim families whose homes are demolished as a form of collective punishment by the RSS-aligned Indian government, and on behalf of all the American Muslims and minorities who are impacted by RSS affiliates opening their arms to the MAGA movement and the white supremacist far right in this country, we call on New York City to make it known that Mohan Bhagwat and the RSS are not welcome here. And in fact, a number of legislators in New York City have already signed on to our open letter making this very call. Lincoln Ressler, Shahana Hanif, Brad Lander, and Shama Sawant. Before I pass the mic on to our next speaker, I want to first take a moment to read a statement graciously shared with us by City Council member Shahana Hanif. And she says, New York City is home to vibrant Muslim, Sikh, Christian, Dalit, and other South Asian communities whose families and communities have felt the impacts of the hateful ideology and violence associated with the RSS. Madison Square Garden should not provide a platform to Mohan Bhagwat and a movement with a documented history of persecution and violence against religious minorities. I stand with the Indian American Muslim Council and communities across our city in calling on Madison Square Garden to cancel this event. Hate has no home in New York City. Thank you so much to City Councilmember Hanif. And next, I would also like to read a statement from former Seattle City Councilmember Shama Sawant, who says, as a socialist, former City Council member and co-founder of Workers Strike Back, I call on New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani to cancel the Madison Square Garden event featuring Mohan Bhagwat, one of the most prominent and dangerous leaders of far-right Hindu fundamentalism in India. Bhagwat is the so-called supreme leader of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. From its early days, the RSS modeled itself after Nazi Germany and continues to base itself on fascist ideas, violence against Muslims and other minorities, and oppression of working people. Since Modi came to power in 2014, India has seen horrific escalation of mass repression and violence in regions such as Kashmir and increasing attacks on Muslims, oppressed caste communities, and working and poor people as a whole. The BJP, RSS leaders, and the billionaire class in India have built close links with the genocidal and apartheid state of Israel. Israeli Pegasus spyware has been used to carry out shocking levels of surveillance of Indian activists, public officials, and independent journalists. By refusing to use his mayoral position to cancel the event and condemn Bhagwat and the RSS, Mamdani is failing to stand with Muslims and other oppressed communities in India and with the Palestinian people. Modi's right-wing regime has gone even farther down the road of authoritarianism than Trump, and it is the responsibility of socialists to take a stand against it. During my decade as the lone socialist on the Seattle City Council, I used my office to build movements to win the nation's first resolution condemning anti-Muslim, anti-poor citizenship laws by Modi and the BJP RSS. I also won the first and only ban on caste discrimination outside of South Asia. The Modi regime is retaliating against me by refusing to grant me a visa to visit my mother and family in India. I thank Hindus for Human Rights, the Indian American Muslim Council, and other organizations who are demanding that Mamdani shut down Bhagwat's event. Workers strike back, and I are in solidarity with you. Thank you so much to Shama. I'll now hand over the microphone to our next speaker, Sarita Pandey from Save America from Hindutva.
Good morning. My name is Sarita Pandey and I speak on behalf of Save America from Hindutva. The RSS is not a cultural organization. It is a Hindu supremacist paramilitary movement whose ideology and networks have been associated with horrific violence against Muslims, Christians, and other minorities in India. Killings, attacks on homes and businesses, and the destruction and desecration of places of worship. This movement is not confined to India. For decades, the RSS has built an infrastructure in the United States through deep ideological, historical, and organizational connections with US-based Hindu supremacist groups. Its ecosystem operates through shakhas, student organizations, charities, cultural programs, lobbying campaigns, and political advocacy, seeking influence in our universities, libraries, school systems, legislatures, and interfaith spaces. Now, its supreme leader, Mohan Bhagwat, is coming to Madison Square Garden. There is nothing inherently wrong with seeking legitimacy in America, but the question is, legitimacy for what? Bhagwat is seeking American respectability for a movement and an ideology fundamentally at odds with American values of religious equality, pluralism, and equal citizenship. If this event proceeds, its most valuable output will be the photographs and the images. The supreme leader of the RSS beneath the Madison Square Garden name, addressing thousands from a celebrated American stage. Those images will circulate worldwide as evidence that Bhagwat was welcome and honored in New York. This is reputation laundering for an extremist organization. It's equivalent to giving a stage to the leaders of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. The U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom has recommended targeted sanctions against the RSS for responsibility or tolerance of severe violations of religious freedom. American institutions should not help sanitize its record. Madison Square Garden should not lend its name, prestige, and credibility to this project. Mohan Bhagwat and RSS deserve scrutiny and sanctions, not legitimacy, spotlights, and applause. We call on Madison Square Garden to cancel this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarita. I'm now going to pass the mic to Kylie Madhav from Hindus for Human Rights.
Hello everyone, my name is Kylie Madhav and I'm speaking today on behalf of... Hello everyone, my name is Kylie Madhav and I'm speaking to you today on behalf of Hindus for Human Rights. You've already heard a bit about who Mohan Bhagwat is and who the RSS are, so I won't belabor the point. But it bears repeating that they are a far-right extremist organization rooted in religious division, founded in the early 20th century, and heavily inspired by some of the most vile political movements of the 20th century, including no less than the Nazi Party. This same RSS that drew its ideological inspiration from Adolf Hitler, quite literally stated, and whose early members were responsible for the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi because he dared dream of an India that was large enough for practitioners of all religions. This same RSS, much as their ideological predecessors, the Nazis, did in 1939, is coming to the United States to speak at our country's most famous arena. They think they can get away with this because, much like the Nazis in 1939, they are relying on plausible deniability. They are relying on Americans and New Yorkers either not knowing or pretending they did not know what the RSS represent. You've already heard about their atrocities. Again, but it bears repeating. They have been behind some of the most violent sectarian moments in India's history for the last 3/4 of a century. And they're coming on Saturday to speak on the topic of oneness. However, the oneness that they present is deceptive. They're not talking about a spiritual oneness or a oneness that unites all people. They're talking about a oneness that reflects their ideology and their way of seeing the world. That oneness closely reflects the oneness expressed by the Nazi Party in the 1930s that only saw room for a certain kind of person in Germany. The RSS only sees room for a certain kind of person in India, and that person is almost always upper caste, that person is almost always Hindu, that person is almost never queer, and so on and so forth. And in a country as diverse as India, and for that matter, the United States, we as citizens of conscience must not allow the wolves to be pulled over our eyes by political actors who do not care about us or the beauty that India and the United States represent, two of the most diverse countries on earth. Now you know what the RSS are. Now you know who Mohan Bhagwat is. Now you do not have an excuse to not demand from your elected officials at the city, state, and federal level to cancel this event. There is also a phone number that I'm going to read out once I unlock my phone for Madison Square Garden that you can call to demand that they cancel this event. It will take all of 5 minutes, and it could truly be a generational act preventing the RSS from gaining a foothold in this country and around the world. Don't let them be pulled over your eyes. And I'm now going to pass the microphone to Kashipra Uke from the Dalit Solidarity Forum. Thank you very much.
Loud as you can.
Okay. Hello everyone. I'm Kashipra Uke and I stand here representing the Dalit Solidarity Forum. I come directly from Nagpur, the birthplace and seat of the RSS. And because I come from where this movement lives, I want to say something very, very clearly. Spending time focusing on an individual like Mohan Bhagwat gives him unnecessary importance that he does not deserve. Giving him airtime gives him the platform he craves. I'm not standing on the steps of New York City Hall today to elevate Mohan Bhagwat. I'm here to expose and directly attack the network, bringing him to Madison Square Garden under the false banner of Hindu religion and freedom of religion. To the diaspora organizations, funding networks, and organizers operating out of North America, we see exactly who you are and what you are doing. The RSS itself is a highly organized outfit that doesn't even dare to register itself in India and has been banned 3 times in post-independence history. Yet, it operates right here through various deceiving front organizations in this country. you operate in the safety and comfort of American democracy. You take full advantage of pluralism, free speech, and tax privileges. Here, while pumping millions of dollars across the ocean to channelize a violent, casteist, and fundamentalist agenda in India. You hide behind a false narrative of religious freedom because you bet that people in this country want to understand the destructive ideology of funding. You claim to represent religion, but let's look at the agenda your money and your political networks actually uphold. You uphold moral corruption and hypocrisy. Where were your organizations when the convicts of the gang rape of Bilkis Bano were released and publicly felicitated under political power influence? Where are your voices when money donated by humble Hindu devotees is looted in temple scam from the very high-profile temples used as political campaign slogans for decades? You don't care about faith, you care about political power, protecting criminals when it serves your agenda. Now let me focus on your war on youth and education. How do these organizations respond when students and youngsters take to the streets in India to ask for their basic rights to education and employment? They support lathi charges, tear gas, pellet guns, and false criminal cases against students. They crush working class youth in India while their own elites send their kids abroad to study, completely bypassing the broken system they champion. They also export extremism. You use deceptive white-collar fronts in North America to channelize hate using iconic venues like Madison Square Garden to sanitize a fundamentalist agenda. But we know the truth. The Dalit movement knows the truth. The student movement knows the truth. New York City stands for peace, justice, and pluralism. Madison Square Garden must not be used as a platform or a legitimizing stage for violent, exclusionary ideologies. We stand in solidarity with everyone upholding peaceful coexistence and truth. And we demand that New York City and venue operators refuse to offer a platform to these organizations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will now be passing the mic to President of NRI International.
Hi everyone, I am Ashok Arora. I am President of NRI International, UN Committee member of New York City Bar and former Secretary of Supreme Court Bar Association of India a record number of times. I must say here that every word spoken here before me, I endorse that, and it is also as good as mathematics now that these RSS goons, as a lawyer I am aware what I am talking, RSS goons have looted India. Is as good as mathematics that after Modi took over 12 years back, the money, BJP, RSS and two big cronies, they have multiplied their money, and a common man is now at the bottom at 136. VM Institute of Sweden and Freedom House of New York, they all said it is autocracy, there is no democracy in India. There is no democracy in India. Let this man prosecute me. He is a goon. He is a big fraud. That is why my pre-speaker who spoke to us before me, she said that 100 years they have not registered the organization. Why have they not registered the? And on this goon, I call him again a goon, a fraud, Bhagwat. Millions of dollars are being spent for his security. For what? This is public's money. In the land of Lincoln, we say this is democracy for the India, for people, of people, by people. But there it is only for Mohan Bhagwat, for RSS. They have looted actually. They not only take pride in killing Mahatma Gandhi, they even worship Godse and all that. I think it is high time these goons, these crooks should be totally banned. Having one of the best mayor in the world, Mamdani, we have talked to him, we are meeting him. I am sure that he'll take steps that New York, beautiful city, is not used by these people who have been spreading hatred for more than 100 years. And everybody, including minorities, Muslims, Sikhs, Dalits, Christians, the tribals, women, nobody is safe in India. 1.4 billion people are under torture for last more than 12 years, ever since Modi orchestrated those riots in 2002, because Modi's political career was conceived in sin with those riots. So you cannot expect from these people any love affection for anyone. They have looted India. I end here with this, that we all are united to stop this crook from addressing here, and also from exposing them that it is not message of oneness. They have already divided India. The basic culture, that Ganga Jamna Tehzeeb of love for all, which is on the first page of the Constitution, promote universal brotherhood. They are violating day in, day out. Prime Minister, Speaker, Deputy Speaker, they are all violating. And this man is ringleader of that gang RSS. So Mohan Bhagwat should be stopped. Thank you, friends. Thank you. All the best. Bye.
Thank you so much for those remarks. I am now going to pass the mic to Danielle Williams from the Interfaith Center of New York.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Danielle Williams, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Interfaith Center of New York and our director, Chloe Breyer, who couldn't make it today. So I'm grateful to stand here today in solidarity with Hindus for Human Rights and with people of faith and conscience who believe that our religious traditions should never be used as tools of supremacy. And I want to be clear, standing against Hindu nationalism is not standing against Hinduism or Hindu people. In fact, Hindus are leading this movement and calling us into solidarity. For those of us who are fighting Christian nationalism here in the United States, we should recognize some of what we're seeing. These movements are not the same. They come from different religions, histories, and political contexts. But we know that the danger of any ideology that says one religious identity should oppress others, that is not religious freedom. Religious freedom means that my freedom cannot come at the expense of yours. It means all of us across faith traditions and those who claim no faith at all have equal right to dignity, safety, freedom, and belonging. And so, as we resist Christian nationalism here at home, we stand in solidarity with those resisting Hindu nationalism in India and around the world. And that is why ICNY joins those gathered today here in condemning the RSS and its chief, Mohan Bhagwat, for the religious bigotry they spew. And I can't help but notice this is not the first time that Madison Square Garden has hosted fascists, hate, and supremacy. It is not too late for the Madison Square Garden to stop from this practice. Because none of us are free when religion is used to justify supremacy, exclusion, or oppression. Our faith should move us towards one another. It should move us towards justice, and it should move us towards our collective liberation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danielle. I'd like to pass the mic now to Japmeet Singh, founder of the New York Sikh Council. Not here? All right. In that case, I will pass the mic to Mr. Amin Zama, the Associate Director of the Indian American Muslim Council.
Hello everybody, good morning. Such a beautiful day in this beautiful, vibrant city, a city where everything is all about inclusiveness. But unfortunately, what my other partners have spoken, that is so true about this fascist coming to this city, to this vibrant city. Thank you all for being here. So why we are here? We are here because Muslims, Madison Square Garden should be a place that brings people together and a platform for promoting an ideology rooted in religious exclusion and the denial of equal rights. Mohan Bhagwat is not simply a private individual expressing personal views. He is the head of the RSS, an organization whose ideology has had an enormous influence on the political and social climate in India. Under the banner of Hindutva, Muslims, Christians, Dalits, and other minorities have increasingly faced discrimination, intimidation, violence, and the erosion of their constitutional values. We strongly believe in the right to free speech and peaceful assembly, but opposing this appearance is also an exercise of our democratic rights. We are here to say clearly that New York must not become a stage for normalizing fascist and exclusionary politics. The Indian American community is diverse: Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Dalits, Sikhs, everybody, and atheists. Millions of us cherish India's pluralistic traditions and the constitutions of India, which promotes equality, liberty, and freedom of religion. We reject the idea that India belongs primarily to one religious community, and we reject the export of religious nationalism and majoritarian politics to the United States. Our message today is not against Hindus. Hindus are our neighbors, colleagues, friends, and family members. Our message is against an ideology that seeks to define citizenship and national belonging through religious identity. America was built on religious freedom, equality, and pluralism. Madison Square Garden should represent those values, not provide legitimacy to movements that undermine them. We call upon elected officials, community leaders, and all people who believe in democracy and human rights to stand with us. We will defend pluralism, we will defend equal rights, and we will not remain silent when exclusionary politics is given a platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amin. I will now tell my honored to pass the mic to Brad Lander, the Democratic Party nominee for New York's 10th Congressional District.
Comptroller. And Comptroller.
I usually go with Democratic nominee for New York's 10th Congressional District, former New York City Controller, and best third place finisher in New York City mayoral history. So anyway, but today, first I want to say thank you to Hindus for Human Rights and to the coalition of organizations that have come together to say there is no room for Mohan Bhagwat and RSS hatred in our city.
Yeah.
I'm here as a Democratic nominee for Congress in this district where we're standing, as a proud New Yorker and as a proud Jewish New Yorker, to join in solidarity with this interfaith coalition, standing up and saying, no, we will not tolerate and we should not allow, and Madison Square Garden should not allow the spewing of hate from a leader whose organization has fomented violence and promoted hatred against Muslims, against Sikhs, against Dalits, against Christians. That is not the tradition of New York City. New York City is a place where we know everyone's safety is bound up together, and you fight for the rights of people who worship God differently from you, who look different from you, who speak a different language from you. And if you allow the world to become a place where people demonize each other over those differences and then foment mass violence and hatred, we will all suffer. And that's why we stand up and say no. I want to say a few words in particular to Madison Square Garden, because the Garden earlier this summer hosted, one of New York's great triumphs. Yes. The Knicks victory brought people together across lines of difference to show what we could do in common. And then everyone came out into these streets. We celebrated that team right here and what happened at the Garden. So sometimes the Garden can be a place for celebrating diverse New York values. But this event is in a very different tradition at Madison Square Garden. This event harkens back to that 1939 Nazi rally that was hosted at Madison Square Garden with banners of swastikas and tens of thousands of people cheering ethnic and religious hatred and violence of a very similar sort to what Mohan Bhagwat and the RSS are proposing. And MSG said it wouldn't do that again, that it wouldn't host any more hate-filled, bigoted rallies. It should not host this one. And then finally, I also do want to just say a few words as a Jewish New Yorker, because I think I feel a lot of solidarity to many people here, but in particular to the Hindu organizers who are standing up, many of them, of course, proud of their faith and traditions and culture, but refusing to allow that to be weaponized for hate and violence. And unfortunately, we are seeing that around the world. We see it in settler violence in the West Bank and in genocide in Gaza. And we see it in what Hindutva is doing, blaspheming, in my opinion. I'm not I don't know a lot about Hinduism, but weaponizing and blaspheming and twisting a tradition and making it instead a tool of hatred and violence. And I stand up and say no to that. As a Jewish New Yorker, I'm proud to do it alongside Hindu and Muslim and Sikh and Christian and Dalit and people of no particular faith who know our safety, our dignity, our freedom, our rights are bound up together. That is the tradition this city was founded on. That's the tradition this city celebrates. And that's why New Yorkers say no to Mohan Bhagwat and the RSS. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. RSS killed Gandhi.
Thank you so much, Brad. Really appreciate you making the time to join us today.
Yes. Yes, go on.
I would like to now pass the mic to Japneet Singh, founder of New York Sikh Council.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like. My name is Japneet Singh, and I stand here today proudly as a Sikh and a New Yorker. First, I want to say how honored I am to stand alongside such a distinguished panel of interfaith leaders. We may come from different faiths, we may pray differently, we may have different histories and traditions. But what unites us today is something far more important: our moral clarity about what a real democracy is supposed to be. And a real democracy does not mean a country where the majority gets to define the rights of everyone else. A real democracy means equality. It means religious freedom. It means dignity for minorities. It means the freedom to disagree with those in power. I want to be very clear. I'm not here to speak against Hindus. I'm not here to speak against Hinduism. Sikhs have a deep respect for people of every faith. But I am here to speak against an ideology and an organization whose vision of India is fundamentally at odds with the Sikh principles of equality, freedom, and justice. The Sikh faith was born in Punjab with a revolutionary message: no human being is superior because of their religion, caste, language, or birth. Guru Nanak Dev Ji challenged religious hatred and social hierarchy. Guru Arjan Dev Ji gave his life standing for the right of another faith to practice freely. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji gave his life not for Sikhs alone, but for the religious freedom of others. Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji gave us one of the most powerful examples of what liberation truly means. When Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji was wrongfully imprisoned, he did not simply seek his own freedom. When he was released, he secured the freedom of 52 other imprisoned Hindu rulers as well. This liberation became the yearly celebration we call Bandi Chor Divas, the Day of Liberation. The Sikh message is clear. Freedom is not real if it only belongs to you. Freedom means bringing others with you. So when the leader of an organization rooted in an extreme far-right ideology comes to New York and presents himself under the banner of oneness and universal harmony, we have every right to ask, what does that oneness actually mean? Does it mean equality for everyone? Does it mean the freedom to disagree? Does it mean the minorities, including Sikhs, Muslims, Christians, Dalits, and others, can live with dignity without being pressured to conform to a singular identity? Because Sikh history teaches us something very clearly. There can be no true unity without equality. There can be no peace without justice. And there can be no oneness when one identity is placed above all others. The India we see under the BJP today is not the democratic ideal that so many of us believe India can and should be. And we cannot separate the BJP's political project from the ideological ecosystem that gave birth to it and continues to influence it, the RSS. Now, I want to talk directly to Mayor Zoran Mamdani. We all love you here. Yes, we love Zoran? Yeah. Mayor, during your campaign, you spoke very clearly about Narendra Modi. You called Modi a war criminal, and you placed him in the same moral conversation as Benjamin Netanyahu. You said you would not stand alongside Modi if he came to New York. Today we are asking you, where is that same moral clarity? Because if you believed Modi's record demanded that you speak out, then how can New York remain silent when the ideological organization that helped shape the political worldview behind Modi is bringing its leader to our city? How can we welcome the manufacturers of Modi's ideology while pretending that the ideology itself does not matter? Mayor Mamdani, we are not asking you to silence anyone. We are asking you to speak up. You have already shown that you are willing to say that certain leaders are not welcome in New York because of what they represent. You have said Benjamin Netanyahu is not welcome here. One can argue that it was because of this moral clarity and consistency that you are sitting in City Hall today and leading the world's greatest city. We are asking you to apply that same standard once again. Because this is not Hindu versus Sikh. This is not India versus America. This is about whether New York will stand for democracy, pluralism, and religious freedom, or whether we will give a platform to an ideology that places religious extremism above equality. So we ask you to join us all to call that his visa does not get approved. And if it is approved, we hope you join us on Saturday as we make sure that we keep this ideology, this leader, so-called leader, accountable. Thank you very much. Bole so nihal, sat sri akal.
Thank you so much, Japneet. We have about 20 minutes left of this press conference, so I'm asking the remaining speakers to kindly keep their remarks to 2 to 3 minutes. And I am honored to now call up Reverend Mira Solani Joyner from Riverside Church. Ask her the mic.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm Reverend Mira Solani from the Riverside Church. I use she, her pronouns, and I can't start today without first honoring my father, Atumal Solani, who is Indian. I am a proud Indian American as I stand here today. He shaped my faith and my conscience. He was a devout Hindu. He taught me to see the divine in myself and in every single human being. And that belief shaped our home, where we lived with 3 faith traditions under one roof. We grew up in an interfaith home, just like New York City. Because of my father, we are raised never to fear difference. We are raised to honor it. And if he were alive today, he would be appalled by any attempt to use his faith, Hinduism, to spread hate and division. He knew where that road leads. He carried that violence and pain and trauma of partition in his own life and in the life of his people. He is why I stand here today as a Christian minister and join others here in protest of this visit of Mohan Bhagwat. Because we must speak plainly about the danger posed by ideologies that elevate one religion and one culture, one national identity above all others. And as others have said, this is not an attack on Hinduism. This is not an attack on Hindu people. It is a rejection of any ideology that turns religion into a weapon and neighbor into enemy. Fear tells us that difference is a threat. Hate tells us that people matter less. But the antidote to fear and hate is spiritual clarity. We must learn to see the divine in one another. If I can see the image of God in you, and if you can see the sacred work in me, then it becomes harder to dehumanize, exclude, or destroy. And that is what is at stake here. And so I am standing here as a Christian minister on behalf of the Riverside Church in this coalition, because we need to speak out against all forms of religious nationalism. Today, against Hindu nationalism as a political ideology and against the role in the RSS in advancing it. Hindu nationalism teaches domination, but true faith teaches dignity. Hindu nationalism narrows the circle of belonging. True faith widens it. As a Christian, I believe in a God of many names. And this God calls us not to supremacy, but to solidarity. Solidarity with Muslims, with Dalits, with my Jewish siblings. Not to exclusion, but to love. Not to fear, but to moral courage. And I know I am not alone in that as I stand here alongside my siblings of various faith traditions. Today, we are here to say no to hate. Say it with me. No to hate. No to hate dressed up as holiness. No to exclusion. Say it with me. No to exclusion. No to exclusion dressed up as patriotism. And yes, to a vision of public life where every person can live, worship, and belong without fear. Because we have chosen to see the divine in one another. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend, for those beautiful words. I would like to now pass the mic to Peter Friedrich, an independent journalist.
In 1939, as 22,000 Nazis occupied Madison Square Garden, the RSS's own guru penned a manifesto praising the Nazi purging of German Jews as a wonderful example to emulate in India. 2 continents the same year and an identical appetite for purging a country of the wrong kind of people. And this week, 87 years after American Nazis claimed the stage of the most famous arena in the United States of America, India's Nazis will walk in their footsteps. Founded in 1925, the RSS is the world's oldest, largest, and fastest growing fascist paramilitary, and it has spent a century devoted to a blitzkrieg mission to remaking India in its Hindu nationalist image, and to building the kind of fatherland that their guru wanted, one where Muslims and Christians live as guests or don't live at all. 6 million uniformed men who answer to no one but their supreme leader, Mohan Bhagwat, whose victory tour celebrating the paramilitary's first 100 years will stage its grandest spectacle at Madison Square Garden on the 29th of August. And they have built their fatherland fantasy on a foundation of corpses from the first, starting with the original act of terrorism in independent India, the assassination of Gandhi by an RSS member. India moved to crush the paramilitary inside of a week, and the Home Minister who signed that ban warned that their speeches were full of communal poison, that the poison had cost that country the life of Gandhi, and that after Gandhi was murdered, the RSS handed out sweets. Well, the RSS's fingers must be sticky by now from all of the sweets they have distributed over the decades, because they have perpetrated more than a dozen pogroms in the century since they assassinated Gandhi, and their stormtroopers keep smashing down doors across India to drag families into the streets and slaughter them there, hunting Christians through their villages while they torch the churches and gut the orphanages, raping nuns and burning missionaries alive.
In Gujarat, they gang-raped Muslim women in the road and set them on fire, hacked children apart in front of their mothers, and burned whole families alive inside their homes, butchering 2,000 in just 3 days. And they did not just slaughter Gujarat's Muslims. They turned them into such a rarity that they're practically a rumor, which Mayor Mamdani knows all too well, because when he tells people that his father's family are Gujarati Muslims, he says that they're shocked that there are still any left at all after what the RSS did to them. That is the movement which has entranced Western fascists from its origins to the present day. Anders Breivik, the most lethal white nationalist terrorist of the 21st century, called on Hindu nationalists and white nationalists to learn from each other and cooperate as much as possible because their goals are, in his words, more or less identical. And the RSS has been jumping into bed with its Western counterparts ever since, sending its leaders here to slip under the sheets with the supremacists who are trying to remake our country along religious nationalist lines. It's a mutual admiration society, naturally, because white nationalism and Hindu nationalism are two sides of the same goddamn coin. And God knows we already have enough trouble with our own fascists without importing anybody else's. Yet India's fascists arrive in disguise because the RSS cloaks its legacy of death in the rhetoric of universal oneness. And their chief is coming here specifically to launder 100 years of butchery on the most famous stage in America. And yet the blood drenching the RSS's hands will stain everyone who welcomes them, which is why Madison Square Garden must yank the red carpet out from under the brown shirts of India. Cancel the rally before the RSS poisons the Big Apple and then tries to hoodwink us by pageantry into taking a bite of that poisoned apple so that we slip into the slumber of universal oneness as Mohan Bhagwat presides over a vile spectacle of fascism.
I just say, Mars, thank you so much, Peter. I would like to now pass the mic to River from Stop Operation Countdown.
I'm here on behalf of Stop Operation Conquer NYC, a coalition that stands with the Dalit and Adivasi resistance against the state and corporate theft of their land. And we are here today because a right-wing extremist Hindutva terror organization is being allowed to roam freely in the city, and we will not stand for it. The RSS has terrorized Muslims, Christians, Adivasis, Dalits in India. Their private feudal armies have bulldozed entire Muslim neighborhoods. They have bombed Muslims and gotten away with it, all in the name of creating a Hindu supremacist nation. And now its leader, Mohan Bhagwat, is being welcomed in New York City, in Madison Square Garden, to celebrate universal oneness. The RSS idea of oneness is not to bring different groups of people together. It is to erase difference, erase entire communities where only one is left, the Hindu supremacists, and those who concede to their terror. What oneness can Mohan Bhagwat preach when his organization's entire political agenda has been a practice in division, violence, and terror? What oneness can he speak of when BJP RSS, in bed with Indian industrialists, are slowly snatching away the political and economic sovereignty of India's neighbors, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, snatching away the sovereignty of the Adivasi and Dalit masses? We must see this facade for what it is. The students and youth of India recently forced this fascist Hindutva government to bend to their demands. And now RSS is changing tactics. When once they openly burn down Muslim homes, we in the diaspora must not let these fascists whitewash their sins. The Hindu right has ideological training camps in America, in New Jersey.
They have a network of funders and political workers that are doing the dirty work of maintaining the fascist regime in India. The Universal Oneness event where Bhagwat is set to speak on August 29th must be cancelled, and if they don't, we will show up to challenge their presence in our city. Stop Operation Kaga NYC will continue to challenge the BJP RSS American foreign capital complex that is destroying the livelihoods of our people back home, using American money, using American connections, and we calling you to join us. The people of India are putting their life on the line to fight these fascists. It is our duty in the diaspora to fight them where we can, when we can. We owe our people this.
Thank you so much, River. I would now like to pass the mic to Reverend Abhijan from the New York State Council of
Oh, yeah, I got that.
All right. Yeah. I would now like to pass the mic to Reverend Peter Cook, principal and co-founder of Faith Beyond Religious Nationalism.
Greetings. My name is the Reverend Peter Cook. I'm principal and co-founder with the Reverend Neil Christie of Faith Beyond Religious Nationalism. I speak to you today as a Christian who is deeply committed to interfaith work. And I feel a particular calling as a Christian to see the beauty and wonder in people of all faiths. I also come here with the confession that my faith has often been twisted and used and weaponized against many others, including Muslims and Hindus. Here in America, we believe in a simple principle. Every person is equal under the law. We believe in religious freedom. We believe in the separation of church and state. You can be Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Jewish, atheist, or Buddhist, or of another faith, and your religion should never determine your rights, your citizenship, or your place in our democracy. And that is why we have a message for Mohan Bhagwat. Mr. Bhagwat, you may find Americans here who admire your vision of a country where one religion is placed above others. You may find people here who embrace discrimination, exclusion, and authoritarianism. They're all about, but they do not represent the best of America and the best of New York City. The United States was not built on the idea that one religion owns the country. It's built through generations of people fighting for the proposition that democracy belongs to everyone. Millions of immigrants, including generations of Indian Americans, came here because they wanted freedom from repression, discrimination, and religious persecution. They came here to build a freer life, not to import the politics of exclusion that they left behind. So let me be clear. We reject Hindu supremacy just as we reject Christian supremacy. We reject the idea that Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Jews, or any other minority should be treated as second-class citizens. We reject caste discrimination. We reject religious persecution. We reject authoritarianism dressed up as patriotism, and we reject the idea that hatred and exclusion can somehow be transformed into unity simply by putting a nicer label on them. Mr. Bhagwat, you are welcome to exercise your right to speak in America, but you should know this. You are not welcome to turn American freedom into a vehicle for spreading religious supremacy and repression. We have our own struggles to defend democracy here, and we intend to pursue it. So take this message home. If India wants to be welcomed as a democratic partner, defend democracy, protect minorities, protect religious freedom, and reject the politics of supremacy. Because whether it is Hindu supremacy, Christian supremacy, Jewish supremacy, Muslim supremacy, Buddhist supremacy, or any other form of religious nationalism, our answer is the same. Democracy, equality, and freedom for everyone.
Thank you, Peter. I'd now like to pass the mic to Rajat Gar, Communications Director at AC Public.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rajat Kaur, and I'm here to represent the Sikh Coalition, the largest Sikh civil rights organization in the United States. We share the concerns of many groups gathered here with regard to the impending visit of RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat to Madison Square Garden. As other speakers have noted, the RSS is a Hindu nationalist paramilitary organization that has operated in India for nearly a century and is directly connected to the current political party in India. For decades, scholars and human rights organizations have documented the RSS's promotion of an exclusionary vision of a Hindu India. This vision has posed both the historical and modern danger to Sikhs both in India and abroad, including here in the United States, while also threatening Indian Muslims, Christians, and others. The Sikh Coalition remains deeply concerned about Indian transnational repression against Sikhs, including plots to intimidate, harm, and even kill Sikhs, including here in New York. The RSS directly furthers this ideology, driving this kind of aggression beyond India's borders. In its most recent report, the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom specifically called for the sanctioning of the RSS, given its responsibility and tolerance of severe violations of religious freedom. USCIRF specifically recommended freezing individuals or entities' assets and or barring their entry into the United States. We urge the U.S. State Department to heed those recommendations, specifically regarding Mr. Bhagwat's planned visit, and broadly call on elected officials and civil society in New York to make it clear that hateful ideologies are not welcome in our diverse and pluralistic democracy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roger. And for our final speaker, I would like to call on Ms. Sunstein, a physician and
Well, there's not too much I can say that hasn't already been said. It's an honor to be here, and thank you to all the other speakers. I just want to speak a little bit from my own perspective as a Sikh New Yorker, a musician, and an activist of many decades, to say that the Sikh community was born as an inherently pluralistic faith. Guru Nanak helped to ignite a revolution over 500 years ago against all forms of oppression and tyranny, whether based on caste, gender, or religion. When he traveled all around South Asia and the Middle East over 500 years ago, spreading these ideas of true oneness, right, not the kind of oneness that the RSS is co-opting, he was always accompanied by a Muslim rabab player, a musician named Bhai Mardana. And this led to a several hundred-year tradition of Muslim musicians and musicians of diverse faith being a part of Sikh devotional spaces. As a musician myself, this legacy inspires all of the work that I do today. The body of Sikh sacred poetry that our Sikh gurus compiled into the Guru Granth Sahib is also a pluralistic document in and of itself, with contributions not only by Sikhs, but also of Sufi saints and poets, radical Bhakti saints and poets from the Hindu side, that all had the same message of oneness, again, true oneness, and revolutionary love. Our identities used to be much, much more fluid than they are in today's India, and unfortunately in today's United States, where these nationalistic ideas of us versus them have really taken hold of so many of our communities. And sometimes our communities are buying into these ideas as well, and sort of falling into this divide and conquer kind of strategy that organizations like the RSS have been espousing for about 100 years. So the Sikh movement was created to fight this exact kind of ideology that drives the RSS, Mohan Bhagwat, and the Modi administration, right, which puts these ideas, these toxic, divisive, and fascist ideas into national policy. So, of course, it doesn't surprise us then that our community continues to be targeted by the Indian government today, 40 years after 1984 and its aftermath, with assassinations of our leaders, with attempted assassinations in Canada and New York. And this transnational repression is driven by the ideology of the RSS, which sees Sikhs who do the humble thing, the small thing of asserting our identity and our sovereignty, not only as equal human beings, but as perpetual terrorists, right? Those of us who stand up and say, we're Sikh, this is who we are, we're seen as perpetual terrorists. All this to say, the RSS and Mohan Bhagwat represent a grave threat to the Sikh community and, of course, to Muslim, Christian, Dalit Indians as well. With racism and xenophobia on the rise in the U.S., the last thing we need here in New York City is this kind of toxicity, again, akin to the leader of the Nazi Party or the Grand Master, the Grand Wizard of the Klan coming to fan the flames of bigotry here in the United States to push their political agenda. In a time when so many of us are feeling finally optimistic and hopeful in our political situation here in New York City about our city government, I really hope that Mayor Zoran Mamdani and our elected officials take action to stop this event. Hindu supremacy and Hindu fascism are never welcome here in New York. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunny. This concludes our press conference. Thank you so much to all the organizations that showed up. Thank you also to all of the wonderful groups that signed on to our call to cancel Mohan Bhagwat's Madison Square Garden event, including NYC, DSA. We're very grateful to everyone, and all of us are very happy to